Appreciate you guys waiting up. Obviously, a great college football game, incredible atmosphere. Autzen Stadium, what it usually does, right, just brings it. Obviously made an impact, or had an impact, and made a huge difference. And then coming down to the last play of the game, start really proud of the team for just overcoming a lot throughout the course of the game. A lot of it self-inflicted, including myself. But just not flinching in that situation and working into reality, something that we practice every single Wednesday. So that being said, open questions.
James, right here on the front left.
Mario, when they take the lead with a minute to go, what are you saying to your guys before they go out there for that final drive? And walk us through some of those plays, in particular. Jawan missed so many games this season. You turned to him twice, and then turning to Cam when you hadn't done that very much before tonight, and turning to him to win it at the end.
Yeah, well, I think it was real clear on the sideline when it was our turn to get the ball back. Our players were already saying it just like our Wednesday practice, which, I know you guys don't get to be out there, but we practice every imaginable 2-minute situation. Needing a touchdown, needing a field goal, deep in our territory, more in the plus territory. So our guys were already harping on that. They were telling that to each other. And they worked it into reality, which was awesome. And in terms of Jawan, the last week and a half, but particularly this week, just has been practicing really, really well. Looks strong, really catching the ball, just snatching it out of the air, running really good routes, playing with toughness. You saw the physical blocking today. I know we got tagged for one penalty on one of the blocks, but it was a matter, he was trying to be physical in the process. So just really proud of the way that he played tonight, and certainly looking for more productivity from him.
On the left, Matt.
At what point was the idea of just get the ball centered up and get a field goal? And when did you make that decision on that drive?
When it was down at the 6, we felt let's try to pop a run if we can, and then if we had it there, the closer you are when it's on the hash, it'd still have kind of an angle there. So we had one timeout. We saved 2 of our timeouts and felt it was just put it right in the middle, and that's make it easier for the kicker. He hasn't had a ton of experience in game-winning situations, so might as well alleviate a little bit of the angle for him. And he went in there cool as can be and got it done.
Right behind there.
A lot of ways to win a football game. This is certainly kind of a unique one, but how can this become maybe a driving force down kind of the back end of the schedule?
Well, the first part, it's, at halftime we're kind of kicking ourselves a little bit about, come on now, we're just doing some things that are, sometimes we press because there's a lot of emotion, and we play with passion, but sometimes when it spills over and becomes emotion, you do some things that are a little bit out of character, and myself included. I said it earlier. I mean, there's no excuse for getting a personal foul or whatnot, but at the same time, what are you going to do about it, right? You have to show the ability to be resilient, to respond, and our guys did just that. So we've kind of seen it every which way you can imagine this season. A lot of lessons to be learned, which is great, and not much time right before we have to get up on the road and go play a really good football team next Saturday.
In the middle, AJ. Wait for the mic, AJ. Yeah.
Coach, CJ Verdell averaged 11.2 yards per carry today. Talk about the running game and why it was so successful against Washington State today.
Well, you've seen in the past couple of years how difficult it's been to run the ball, right? It seems like they always got an extra hat to the football. They thin you out with their line stunts and their movement. It's kind of interesting. You see us, there's a lot of things that we do that are very similar to what they do up front. So our guys have now gotten used to those stems. They've gotten used to those post-snap movements. And we just felt as much as they were going sideways, we had to go vertical, north and south. That paid off. When they started running their TE stunts on the open sides, then we started getting the ball outside and ran some more outside zone. And then the one play that we called where CJ went for the 90-yard run, it's an airtight play as it relates to corner fire, as it relates to Sam Will pressure, backside pressure. So, and it hit like we were hoping it would hit, and great block downfield again by our receiver. I think Jawan was the one that did it as well. So it was what we wanted, out of the run game, but certainly got a lot of productivity out of it.
Right here, front right.
Yeah, Coach, over 300 on the ground today. What does this line do collectively, maybe better than other lines you've been around at this level, including your days in Tuscaloosa, obviously?
Yeah, the DNA of these guys is something special now. And I use this a lot when I talk about our guys. It's what you want your son to be. Like I got my two little dudes over there, and I hope you hear that, offensive linemen, not wide receivers like you guys like to play all the time. But anyways, the thing is these guys are the first guys in the building. They're the last ones out. They take care of their bodies like pros. They're in there deep in a film study all the time. They're watching themselves in one-on-ones and unit drills, studying opponents. They're relentless about their approach. And then at the end of the day, they are mentally and physically tough. And these guys have got a lot of reps together, played a lot of games together, and they are just in sync. They're able to make adjustments on the run. They don't have to come to the sideline. You see him communicating with Coach Mirabal, hey, we saw him go in a bear, and we saw the little linebacker try to hit the A gap, so we're going to make our adjustment call to that to make sure we pick it up and take the heat off of Justin. So it's what you want linemen to be, man. These guys do it all.
Right here, in the back middle, Tyson.
When you guys are starting a drive that could very well end in a potential game-winning kick like that, is anybody talking to Camden on the sidelines? Like, what's kind of the protocol of like coaching up a kicker?
Bobby Williams, getting him ready to roll.
Right behind him. Back middle.
Coach, obviously the air raid is tough to defend, especially without Troy Dye in your lineup today. But how do you feel your defense handled the air raid for Washington State today?
We had some success, and they had some success as well. It's really hard to stop. I mean, it is, and they spread you out pretty good. They find some pretty tight windows. They create even bigger ones. They number count you, they box count you, and if you're light in the box, they're going to run the ball. And a lot of those plays, the A's and the B's were plugged up pretty good, but you saw their running back kind of drove in and then bounced that thing outside several times, just let it roll off the table. So. And then their screens. Their screen game was really good as well. So they attack in so many different ways that you have to get pressure on the quarterback. And I think when we got pressure on the quarterback, we did a really good job. And but I think our guys did a really good job just fighting the whole way through and making sure that we just kept us in the game, just stayed in the fight. And at the end, it ended up being a big time, again, defensive performance.
Front left, James.
Mario, that kind of performance from CJ is enormous. I mean, it's the third best rushing performance in the FBS this season. It's one of the best in several years here. It seems like he's consistently putting forth what you saw in flashes last season, but injuries held him back, that he's starting to do this every week. When did you see him start to turn that corner that he can do this every single week like this?
Well, I mean, the things that you don't talk about in camp is sometimes guys get the flu, guys get sick. They're not able to practice as much, or they get dinged up, and you got to limit them. Now, CJ and the rest of those backs have been practicing, pretty consistently for the past 3 weeks. And Travis has been running really hard. So has CJ. So has Cyrus. And last week, Cyrus got the hot hand. Now, today was CJ. So I think it's awesome. Those guys are challenging each other and competing against each other. It's making the room better. It's making our ground attack a whole lot better. And I'll tell you what, I'm even more so impressed with the way they pass protected today. Those guys did a really good job.
Right here in the middle, Warren.
Coach, update on Travis first. I know he left the game early or fairly early, and then
Yeah, he's being evaluated. I don't think it's very serious. Usually we have a pretty good feel for that. I mean, I just saw him in the locker room. He feels like he's okay, but we'll know on him more tomorrow.
what Coach Leach he amazes me just because that offense it just seems so simple, but those receivers always find that open area. What makes that offense so tough to defend?
Well, I guess I liken it to the Veer triple option football down south. Remember, like when Paul Johnson was over at Georgia Tech, like nobody wanted to play Georgia Tech because you don't see it, and you got to see it one time a year, and you only have 2 days to prepare for it. So it's not going to be second nature. Everybody else's offense has some type of carryover. Guys run inside zone, outside zone power. They throw four verts. They've got their high-low game. They got their progression read passes and whatnot. When you'll face an offense like this that has leverage throws, that has box count adjustments on the snap, that can go tempo as well. I mean, it's a very unique offense, and when the quarterback is hot and when he has time to throw, it is very difficult to defend.
Front left, Matt.
With Travis out, you had a new returner late in the game. What do you just make of Mikael Wright's return, and how important was that to set you guys up?
We've been talking about it for a long time to get this guy involved because he's like a human highlight film in high school now. This guy he's a legit 4-3 guy, and I've been messing with him saying, man, you can't return kickoffs. You ain't real good. And well, I got some apologizing to do to him. he was waiting for his opportunity. David Davis and those guys did a really good job blocking for him, and certainly got us great field position to start that final drive.
We got time for two more in the back. Marie on the right.
Let's go back and talk about the linemen again. Last week, Cyrus invited Panay over for a home-cooked meal after the win over Washington. How great has he been playing? And then would you suggest CJ make him a home-cooked meal this week?
I suggest that all running backs and quarterbacks should always take care of their offensive linemen. I just think it's the right thing to do, speaking as a former offensive lineman. And I think, look, these guys are really tight. They really are. And I know Panay's playing really well. All these guys are playing really well up front. And, I can't speak enough about them, but at the same time, they don't want me to speak about them. That's just the nature of who they are. They want to get better. All they kept talking about in there was, hey, we got to jump on this film tomorrow. There's a couple things that could have really made this a great performance tonight. And I'm like, wow, what a blessing to have guys like this in the program that just, they're hungry and they're driven to be better for them, for their teammates, really, and for the program.
Middle right, last question, Jaden.
Yeah, Coach, can you give us an update on Troy Dye, and is it a short-term thing with that thumb and whatever? And then the second thing, going down to L.A., you guys have won on the road now. That's a tough team. They were only team to beat Utah. They might be laying in wait a little bit for you. Can you just give me some early thoughts on that game?
Yeah, well, Troy, we thought he'd be able to go, but as we got later in the week, it just he wasn't quite ready, but we feel it's very short-term. We feel he'll be good to go this week. And in terms of our next opponent, obviously tremendous amount of respect for the entire conference. We feel that everyone tonight, Washington State, next week USC, all these teams are playing at a really high level. And I think our guys, we're learning that nothing but our very best is going to be good enough. That's proven day in and day out in college football. I'm sure we saw another 4 or 5 upsets today. I'm sure we saw another, just a couple of unexpected occurrences. You got to show up to play. You got to be very well prepared, and you got to play with toughness and resiliency and make sure it's your very best.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, guys, thank you very much, and have a good night.